If your lawn needs some attention and you're not sure what to do, you've got a couple great options. One option is to completely get rid of the sod and put some new sod in, and that gives you a quick, beautiful result, but it costs a bit more money. Okay, so we're in the backyard and we're gonna start getting ready for the sod. So the first step for the sod is to use a sod cutter to remove the sod. So we're gonna try to get about 1.5 inches deep of a layer of sod off. You can do that manually, but that is very hard work. So what we're gonna use is a sod cutter. We rented this sod cutter from Mount Nemo Sales and Service. It's a Bluebird, which is a great brand, and it's been really great for us. So the sod cutter, it's a pretty heavy machine and it's difficult to use, but you've got this lever here where you can adjust the height so you can go to 1.5 inches. Another thing before you start sod cutting, you want to make sure there's nothing under the sod that could become a problem. So first thing you want to check out is irrigation. So a lot of people have irrigation lines, so they have heads and lines. So you want to go around and make sure that you've checked all the lines and heads. We usually flag them. In this case, there aren't any irrigation heads. And the other thing is you want to make sure there's no Bell lines, Cogeco lines, any phone lines or anything like that. And you've also got a generator back here that's got some power lines, which are well below 6 inches, so we don't need to worry about those. But it's certainly something you want to investigate before you do any sod cutting. Okay, I'm here with Mohammed, who's one of our crew leaders in our landscape division. He's going to be doing the work doing the sod cutting. So thanks, Mohammed, for taking this over. I can't emphasize enough the rental of a sod cutter. It makes quick work of a really difficult job. We rented this sod cutter from Mount Nemo Sales and Service, and it will cut that grass up really nicely. So all you have to do is get a wheelbarrow and take it out. At first, you might think that machine looks pretty intimidating. It's pretty big, but once you get working with it, it's not a very intimidating machine to work with. Anybody can use this type of machine. Okay, so over here, we've got an area where we're going to also put some sod down. It was pretty covered in weeds, so we took the rototiller right away and we started tilling up the soil to get rid of the weeds. A rototiller is a really great tool you can use when you've got a garden bed where you want to really pull up that soil. We rented this rototiller from Mount Nemo Sales and Service. It's a Toro product, which is a great product. And we use this often on our jobs when we really need to get in our gardens, get those weeds and get them out of there. And then we've taken off a good layer of soil and put it in our dump trailer where we're getting rid of that soil. We want to make sure that we grade it and make it nice and smooth so when the sod goes down, it looks really nice under the tree. Now we've used the sod cutter to cut 1.5 inches of the top layer of the sod off. And now the time is to get rid of all of that sod and all those weeds so that we can lay down some soil and grade out the sod to make it nice and smooth. If we hadn't used a sod cutter, it would probably be like 5 hours of back-breaking work getting that sod all cut up with the shovel. So we're super happy we rented that machine from Mount Nemo Sales and Service. Saved us a ton of time and back-breaking work. So some tools you're gonna wanna definitely have when you're sodding. Well, we talked about already, the sod cutter is a really important tool, but you also wanna have a hard rake so that you can pull the sod off and a shovel to get it into a wheelbarrow. So you're gonna need a hard rake, a shovel, a wheelbarrow, and you're gonna need somewhere to take all this excessive stuff. We use a dump trailer to put all of our waste, or you can also have a bin called and just dump it into a bin and have them remove it later. Those are really important tools to get the sod job done. So when you take on a sod project, you gotta think about all of the tools and equipment you're gonna need. So you're gonna need to rent a sod cutter, you're gonna need to have a place to dispose of all of the soil, and you're gonna have to bring in some materials. You're gonna have to bring in soil and you're gonna have to bring in sod. So you can either hire a company like Absolute Home Services who owns trucks and trailers that can get rid of it and has all the tools you need to get the job done. Or if you're doing it yourself, you already have a trailer and truck, that's great. But if you don't, another option would be to get it delivered. So you can get all the sod delivered, you can get the soil delivered, you can get a rental piece of equipment delivered from Mount Nemo. And then the other option I would do is just get a bin delivered to your home, fill it up with all the debris and get it taken away. Okay, so you want to do one pass over the sod and start pulling it up, but often after one pass doesn't quite get all of the spots. So you get as much as you can lifted off into the wheelbarrows and out, and then you go through it a second pass to get all the last bits of sod that weren't pulled up from the first cut. Once all the sod has been removed, then we're going to bring in some soil so that we can lay down a nice layer of soil and grade out the ground so that when we lay the sod, it comes out nice and smooth. Okay, so now we're ready to lay the sod. Since the ground has been graded, we've made sure there's no low spots, and we've got our sod ready to lay. So first you want to figure out how much sod you need. So you figure out the square footage of the area you're sodding, and then you figure out how many rolls you need. Each roll is 10 square feet. So you figure out how many square feet you have, divide it by 10. That'll tell you how many rolls you need. And you're going to want to add about 10 to 15% extra because you're going to trim some of that to go around different things on the lawn. So we usually use Kentucky bluegrass here in Ontario that we got from Conan's Nurseries today. You need to get sod fresh so it's not dried out. When you lay the sod, you want to lay it in a brick pattern so that the seams are not touching each other. You also want to make sure that you butt that sod up really, really tight. If you don't butt it up tight, it will split as it starts to dry, and you'll see gaps between all the different rolls that you put down. After you lay the sod, you want to roll out all the sod to make sure that there's no bubbles or anything and it's nice and flat. And then you want to make sure you start watering that sod right away so that those roots take hold. And you want to make sure you water that sod every single day for 2 weeks, otherwise your sod will die. So when you're laying the sod, inevitably you're going to have to go around different parts of the house. In this case, we had to go around this generator, so we had to cut the sod. So what we do is flip over the sod and we cut the soil side of it. That allows us to cut it and pull it away. The other thing is we try to use as much sod as we can so that we're not throwing sod away at the end. So we try to lay as many rolls as possible and then fit the sod into the spots that are left open. So those are the 5 steps to laying the sod down. First, you want to cut the sod, and then you want to get rid of it. And then the next step is to grade the sod with 1 inch of soil, and then put down the sod in a brick layer pattern, roll it out, and then water it. If you like this video, we've got lots more, so subscribe, like, and comment below. And if you're looking for someone to do this work for you, you can click the link below and ask us to come by for a free quote.